Hey everyone, welcome back to Booga Buggie Kid Stories. Silly stories about a silly bug. And in this episode, Booga Buggie goes on a surfing vacation and meets a new friend. Alright, let's get started. Elon Pfeiffer, his mom and dad were all ready to go on a fun vacation to the beach. And Booga Buggie decided to come along for the fun. It's been a long time since Booga Buggie went to the beach, and he heard they were going to some place that had lots of storms and really fun waves, and where some people were surfing. He's never saw anyone surf before, so Booga Buggie was pretty excited about this trip. After a ride on a huge boat called a ferry, and a drive all the way across an island to the beach, they got settled in their hotel room. They unpacked everything, and Pfeiffer and Elon were super excited to go to the beach, and so they grabbed their beach toys and ran down the path and started playing in the sand and jumping in the water. And Booga Buggie had followed Elon and Pfeiffer to the beach too and was pretty curious about what was going on. This looked amazing. There were huge waves, and there were lots of people with these strange kind of boards on the waves that were getting pushed around. This must be what they call surfing, thought Booga Buggie. I'm going to have to try that out. It looks like so much fun. And off in the distance, they saw some rain clouds. And those rain clouds came in closer and closer and started to rain. And then it got windy. And then all of a sudden, the rain and wind turned into a huge storm. And all through the night, there was a giant storm that was blowing these huge waves. It was so windy that the rain almost seemed like it was going sideways. But they were able to stay inside their hotel room where it was nice and cozy and warm and watch the waves crash on the beach. The next morning, before everyone else woke up, Booga Buggie snuck out of the hotel room and crawled all the way to the beach to see what had happened in the storm. And it had been so windy that some of the trees had even fallen down. And Booga Buggie looked at the waves out in the ocean and thought, I want to try swimming now, but he realized that he didn't have a board. So he walked over to the local surf shop where you could rent some boards. But those boards were way too big for a bug. They were human size. Even the small kid ones were way too big for Booga Buggie. He was a little bit sad and didn't know what to do because he thought surfing would be an awesome time. So he went back to the beach to watch some of the other surfers go. So as Booga Buggie was sitting there on the beach, he looked over and he noticed that one of the trees that had been knocked over looked like it could be a perfect size for Booga Buggie because he was really good at making things, and this tree had already fallen over, so he got to work. He got out his carving material and turned that tree into a long surfboard that he was going to use to go out into the waves. And while he was carving that surfboard, he kept hearing some weird noises. Oof, ow, oof, eesh. He looked around and didn't see anyone that was close to him, so he just kept on carving and carving and carving until that tree was a new surfboard. All right, he was finished. And he went and got some wax because surfers put some wax on their boards so it's a little bit sticky for them and they don't just fall off when it gets wet in the ocean. And he waxed the surfboard and he watched to see what the other surfers did. And then he grabbed his board, jumped on top of it, and started paddling out through the waves to get further out into the ocean where all the other surfers were waiting for some big waves. All right, here comes a big wave. Booga Buggie paddled as quick as he could, hopped up on his 6 little feet, and he was surfing. Woohoo! This is awesome! Whoa, he's going so fast. And he heard that sound again that he heard while he was carving his board. Oof, ow, ouch, oof, oof. He looked down and looked around and again didn't see anyone around him. But then he looked down once more, and to his surprise on the surfboard, he was standing on a face. What the? Booga Buggie thought. Booga Buggie was so scared he hopped off into the ocean. And he and Booga Buggie and the board were both pushed by the waves all the way to the beach. Finally, Booga Buggie brushed the sand off of him and went over to his surfboard that had a face on it. He looked again, and yep, the board had eyes, it had ears, had a mouth, and even a nose. And the board was talking to him. It was making the noise. So Booga Buggie said, "Hey, surfboard, what's your name?" Booga Buggie could see that the surfboard was moving his mouth, but he couldn't hear him over the loud ocean noise. All he heard was tree. And so Booga Buggie asked again, "No, what's your name?" He's heard tree, tree. So Booga Buggie still couldn't really hear what his surfboard was saying. And he decided, well, I'm going to call you Tree Tree. So Booga Buggie grabbed Tree Tree and he ran back down the pathroom closer to his hotel room where the ocean noise wasn't as loud. And he asked, "Where did you come from, Tree Tree?" Tree Tree had said he was growing on the beach, but then a huge storm came and knocked him over, and he was stuck. He couldn't move. And then he said, all of a sudden, I guess Booga Buggie, you took me and you turned me into a surfboard, and now I'm surfing all around and I can move and it's so much fun. So Booga Buggie and Tree Tree decided to go surfing again because they both loved it. Tree Tree really liked being able to move around and not being stuck in one spot on the earth anymore. And Booga Buggie thought surfing was really cool and silly because you could move super fast and being pushed by really big waves. So after a long day of surfing, they were both really tired and they wanted to go get some food from the local food stand. Booga Buggie had gotten to the beach with Tree Tree, and all of a sudden, pop, 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 Tree Tree had sprouted some tiny little legs and tiny little arms, so that way Tree Tree could hobble around. Booga Buggie laughed because it looked super silly that there was this big surfboard hobbling around with teeny tiny legs and arms. But Tree Tree thought it beats being stuck in the ground for all of my life, so he was pretty happy that he could walk. When they got back home, they both really missed surfing. Tree Tree missed going super fast all around, and Booga Buggie missed going back and forth and up and down. And so Booga Buggie decided to strap on some skateboard wheels onto Tree Tree and turn him into a longboard. And a longboard is essentially just a really, really long skateboard. So that Booga Buggie could ride around on Tree Tree just like a skateboard. And they had so much fun when they did that. It was almost like surfing, but kind of like surfing on cement in the parking lot or in the cul-de-sac that they lived on. And so Booga Buggie and Tree Tree became really great friends. And so whenever there was a stormy night, Tree Tree would come over to Booga Buggie's house and they would tell the story about how Booga Buggie found Tree Tree and turned him into a surfboard. And then whenever they missed surfing, they just went skateboarding around town. And every once in a while, Tree Tree and Booga Buggie would make the trip onto the ferry and over on a drive to the island to go surfing again. Hey, thanks again for listening to another Booga Buggie Kid Stories about the silly bug Booga Buggie. And in today's episode, where he goes surfing and meets his new surfboard friend, Tree Tree. Well, stick around for more episodes and feel free to leave a rating or a review wherever you listen to podcasts to help others find this great podcast. Bye for now.